It's a difficult decision choosing whether you should play on the right side or the left side of the court, and you should not be making this decision based on how comfortable you are on the return with the glass. That is not the reason. So in this video, we're going to explain why you should be choosing the right side versus the left side and some of the characteristics of both. And also we're going to hear from some of the top pros on their favorite sides. Before we talk about the characteristics of the different sides, when I'm commentating for Red Bull with the Premier, I'm often talking about a traditional type pair that plays right side and left side. And a great example might be a Martin DiNenno on the right hand side and LeBron, for example, on the left, or Chingotto and Galan. They would be a traditional pair, and this is where you have a player on the right hand side who is very steady, good defender, good strategist, is very good at placing the ball and creating the opening, and you would have a player on the left hand side who is more physical, more explosive, has great weapons with their overheads, can finish the point really effectively. Now this would be a traditional pair in terms of the right side and the left side of the court. We were fortunate enough to spend a bit of time with Martin DiNenno and asked him what he focused on as a right court player, why he enjoyed playing on the right, and what he was trying to do within the point.
You're a right-sided player. If you had one tip for the right-sided player, what would it be?
Supervivencia. O sea, en el fondo de la pista, yo siempre pienso que la gran mayoría de los puntos se ganan más cerca de la red que de fondo, ¿no? Entonces yo siempre intento construir en las primeras bolas de cada punto, intento construir hasta tener una relativa comodidad para ejecutar un buen globo y así avanzar a la red. Y eso es un poco lo que hago. Después me siento más cómodo defendiendo que atacando, eso es verdad. Pero muchas veces cosas que defiendo son por pura supervivencia. O sea, yo entiendo el pádel por pasar una bola más que la pareja rival o que mi adversario. Entonces, a partir de ahí intento pasar hasta que en algún momento pueda atacar. Pero bueno, yo intento siempre supervivencia.
So you can see there for Martin, it was around defending, surviving, being patient at the back of the court and waiting for the right opportunity to lob and to get to net, and he is the master of the lob. And so that is a big part of this right side player in a traditional pair, when it's right-handed and a right-handed player on both sides of the court. When it comes to the left side, this is a lot more around almost finishing the point, whether it's your partner who's helped set up the point or you on the left side have set the point up yourself, but you've got to be prepared to finish with your aggressive overheads, and importantly, you are the one covering this back middle here, so you'd move back, play your vibra and recover the net. So it is a little bit more physical on that left side, and so who better to hear from than Paquito for his top tip for playing on the left-hand side of the court.
What would be your one tip for left-sided players?
Bueno, un consejo que puedo darle a un jugador de revés podría ser que cierre bien el medio, porque muchas veces la bola pasa casi todo el rato por el medio y casi nadie se anima a cerrar el medio, a tirarse del medio. Entonces yo creo que si eres jugador de revés y más si juegas con un jugador diestro, el medio debe ser cosa tuya y yo me tiraría mucho al medio, porque jugarla allí los ángulos es más difícil. Así que un consejo es que cierre bien el medio.
So Paquito there is talking about a specific part of a game for a left court player, and that is where you hit your overhead into that cross court corner and you recover your net position. And this is also why it's important to go into that corner for most of your overheads rather than down the line, and you end up spreading yourself and having to cover too much of a gap. But he's talking about here when you hit that, and you've got to really be fast up to cover that middle, because that middle ball is your responsibility. And as I was saying earlier in this video, you've got to be really physical on this left-hand side to make sure you cover those gaps. Now let's talk about a left-hander and a right-hander. So this is less of a traditional pair as it's more rare, but you have a left side player, and a great example is Paulo Jose Maria and Ari Sanchez, for example, or Tapia and Cuello, where you've got a left-hander on that side, a right-hander on this side, and the left-hander always plays on that right-hand side even from a beginner level, because it means that your overheads are down the center of the court where you are most likely to get all of the lobs. I know that means that your backhand is the one that is playing the ball off the return, off the glass, but that is one shot, and you want to just practice that shot to be able to get that back. And then once you can do that, all of this channel down the middle of the court is with your forehand side, with your overhead, with your vibras. You could have two players that are hitting vibras on most of this overhead, and you can see how effective it is at the pro level. And so it's important you understand that right from the beginning. At the pro level, and this is something that you should work on with your game, you want to be a complete player so that you can be attacking and defending from both sides of the court. And whether you're left-hander, right-hander combination, or a normal combination, a traditional combination of two right-handers, you want to have a complete game. And that is actually something that Alejandra Salazar brought up when we were asking her about what the characteristics were of a right side player.
What, in terms of playing on the right side player, what do you think are important characteristics for a player on the right?
Hoy en día creo que es muy importante ser seguro, ya juegues en la derecha o en el revés, meter mucha pelota dentro, tener pocos errores no forzados, y cada vez más el jugador de derecha se destaca por también ser agresivo y ganar puntos, no solo en el lado del revés. Entonces, cuanto más completo sea el jugador, independientemente de en el lado en el que juegue, creo que es más positivo para la pareja, ¿no? Y no solo hay que defender bien o no solo atacar bien, sino, bueno, creo que cada vez se va más a que los dos sepan hacer de todo, ¿no? Los dos jugadores.
You can hear there how important it is to have a complete game at that top level, but also as you're improving your game. And this is exactly why we say to players, don't pick a side until you are down that road, or play both sides. Like me personally, I played a lot of both sides as I was learning my game, and it means I'm very comfortable. If I play on the right hand side, I know what my job is on the right hand side to help my partner, and vice versa. So please don't step onto the court within the first 6-9 months of playing and say, I am a left court player. Unless you are lefty. If you are left-handed, then you should always play on the right-hand side, but a right-hander, experience both sides of the court, it will make you a better player in the long run. The final point is understand that if you are playing and suddenly you play with a better player, the better player should probably play on this left-hand side. I've lost count of how many times I've played a pro-am or I've played a match play at a beginner or intermediate level, and I've come on court and the player said, I'm a left court player, and I end up playing on the right, and we're still trying to win it. It's a competitive game, but as a right court player, I can't do much to finish the point. You rely on the left court player to do that. So please, please, especially if you play a pro-am with me, adapt and be able to play both sides, but you need to practice that from the start. Now, over here, I'm going to put a link to thepadelschool.com where we talk about tactics, communication, the mental side of all of the game, as well as all your techniques for all of the shots, but it's a great place to go if you want to start transforming your game. And then up here, I'm going to put a more technical video on the finishing overheads that you need as a right court or a left court player.